Hello and welcome to how to install the tracker for dummies. In this short video I'm going to show you how to install the SQL Server database, install the plugin, install the IIS, and install the tracker website. And then you have everything you need to begin tracking. So the first thing you need is a SQL Server database. If you're installing it for the purpose of evaluation, then you can use SQL Server Express, and the one you want to go for is SQL Server Express 2012 with management tools. So if you just search for that, then you can come here to Microsoft, press download, and click download here, and the one you want to choose is WT for with tools. So this 669 megabytes one is everything that you need for a basic single install of the tracker. So I come here to my installation folder, which is here, and I have my SQL Server Express installer. And just wait while this extracts. So while this is opening up, I'm just going to find the tracker install guide and keep it here. So the way this works is you choose to add a new SQL Server standalone installation, and it will run through a number of different steps. And if we can see, you have it here in the manual. It gives you some recommendations on what to do. But the main thing you need to be aware of during this installation is it will ask you to name your database server. This can be customized, but it always gets the default of SQL Express. So that means after completing this installation, I have a database called SQL Express running on my local machine. Yeah, so here is where you can do this. You can say perform a new installation of SQL Server, accept the license terms, choose the features that you want to install, and make sure you choose management tools. And here you get the choice to name your instance. So I already have one called SQL Express, which is the default name, and I just recommend you just use the same SQL Express name. So you can just continue through here, accepting the defaults, and you'll get SQL Server installed. You can check that by coming to your Start and then All Programs, and then you see this SQL Server 2012, and you can choose SQL Server Management Studio, which is a management tool that it talks about. And then you should be able to connect to a database engine on localhost/SQL Express. I can browse the database here on the tree and see what databases it has. It currently doesn't have any databases installed, so that will be the first step I do now when creating the tracker database. So let's just go ahead and do that and say new database called tracker. Now I need to get a definition of the tables and rules for the tracker database, and that comes as part of the Petrel plugin. So then what I should do is if I come to my downloads and my Tracker 5 media, I should install the Project Tracker 5 plugin for Petrel. So I double click that and you should see this Petrel plugin manager execute in the background like so. And like that, then the tracker plugin is installed on my machine. I can find that by coming to C Program Files, Schlumberger, Petrel 2012, and then Extensions. which is a kind of rather tricky path, but it's the default location for all plugins. If I then come to Project Tracker 5, I'll find an object in here called create database objects.sql. So what I should do here is just move this to one side and say right click on tracker and say new database, new query, and I'll get an empty query dialog here. And if I drag and drop the create database objects into here and press execute, I'll then get this query which runs. It says query executed successfully, and if I expand this, you should see the tables, etc. of the tracker now. In this security tab, this is where you can define users and Windows groups, where you can apply some restriction rules around who can access, but we'll come back to that at a later stage. So the tracker database is all up and running, and I'm now ready to build the website which we can use to browse the data from the tracker. So to install the web server, you come to the control panel, programs and features, which is here, and turn Windows features on or off. And in this case we're looking for IIS, but here is where I really need to refer to the installation manual. So in my tracker installation manual, I'll find a section on installing IIS, and what we get here is a screenshot of all the features that you need. So we choose IIS and we carefully expand some of these tabs. So I need the compatibility features, all of them. I need the console, I need the .NET and ASP.NET features, these two filters, and I think that's pretty much everything that I need. I need also Windows authentication here in the security. So then I should have exactly everything that the tracker needs to run. So let's just press OK. Let's just restart later. Then we can check this by coming to computer, and if we right click on computer and say manage, then we get this computer management dialog and we see services and applications IIS. We should check the application pools, and we see that we have a classic pool which is running .NET 2. So what we need to do is say add application pool. We shouldn't, it's for the tracker, but maybe we should just call it something generic like app pool new, and what we have to do is to choose the .NET 4 framework, which is the one which the tracker uses. So press OK here, it creates me my app pool new, and now I'm ready to install the tracker website. So if I come back to my installation kit, here I have the plugin, but this time I need the web installer. Run this, and this should guide me through. So the first thing we need to choose is the site. So default website is fine. We're going to call the application tracker. We could call it tracker 5 or whatever we like. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to stick with tracker. And then we have to choose our .NET 4 app pool that I just created. Let's press next. We're going to use Windows authentication to connect to the tracker database, but if we want to apply a different level of security, we can use SQL. So here's again where we have to input the database name and server, and it's always worthwhile coming back to Management Studio here to double check your name and the database name. And if we open the Object Explorer, we can copy the server name to make sure we don't get any mistakes. Like so, the database was called Tracker. In this case, we're not using SQL authentication, so that's fine. We can press next. This should just take a couple of seconds to install. Yeah, it's just taking a minute to install. Okay, and the reason for that is it pops up an open window. So it's popped up my Internet Explorer. Just close this like so. Then you see this connection to the tracker, and it tries to load the tracker dashboard. Commonly in the installation you'll get to this point and you'll get stuck on this wheel, and that's an indication that there's something not up with the something not correct with the authentication. So let's just close that for now and close this and come back to the IIS settings. If we just refresh here, we should see now tracker, and this is where we need to pay attention again to the installation guide. So if we come back to the contents, we can see IIS and how to configure that for authentication. So let's look at Windows, and what it says is that if we come into the tracker and then authentication, for Windows authentication, which is what we're using, we need to disable anonymous authentication and enable ASP.NET and enable Windows authentication. Then the next step is just to restart the IIS server, and then let's open a new web browser now and say localhost/tracker. We're asked for authentication this time, which is a good sign. And this time, when we connect to the tracker, the dashboard should reveal itself. So there you have it. We have successfully installed the tracker database and website and plugin. So we're ready now to begin to build some tasks to collect the projects and publish them back into the database. Thanks for listening.